That's good. We'll try that out. I can see. You can see. पढ़िए देखिए Shri Kamanam Shri Gurum Vaishnavamscha Sri Rupam Shagarajatam Shagaratam Raghunatam Vaikuntam Shajivam Shadaitam Shabadudam Parijana Shaitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Varila Shri Mantra Guru Ajokta Shiga Guru Donta Charane Age Gariya Mandam Shakapatruya Shakapatruya Shindaveva Chapokitana Pavaneva Vaishnava Siksha Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasa. Let's begin with that. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Rajahudevan Sweet Nandananda Hare Krishna. Vande aham Shri Guru Shri Juta Parakamana Shri Guru Nashnamascha. I did that. Prabhupada ki jai. Samved Bhagavad. Okay, let's carry on. We were in the middle of Jagannath Puri. And maybe I'll share the screen. If you can give me permission, and I'll put the slides up. Narottam, someone can we share can I share the screen? Oh yes, that must be. We're on the rooftop in Jagannath Puri, and I can be seen and I can be heard.
Yes, Prabhuji.
Yeah, we were on the rooftop of.
Recording in progress.
We were just on the rooftop of the palace of the king of Jagannath Puri. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had arrived back from his 2 years of touring in South India, and he had so many of his important associates had began to arrive in Bengal, arrive in Jagannath Puri to associate with him, like for example, Saurabh Damodar, his arrival, as described in chapter 10, Madhulila. And he left after Mahaprabhu took sannyas. He went to Varanasi, then he came to Jagannath Puri. He was one of the first to arrive. And then Govinda had been sent there. And then Brahmananda Bharati, Paramananda Puri, two sannyasis that Mahaprabhu met while he was in South India, they'd come. And Ramananda Roy. And now the devotees from Bengal, the Kala Krishna Das, had been sent by Nityananda Prabhu. We were discussing that. Maybe we didn't actually discuss the significance of that particular incident, that Mahaprabhu on the South Indian tour, which we could explore in detail on another occasion, the complete details of Mahaprabhu's South Indian tour. They're very ecstatic. So at one stage, his assistant, whose name was Kala Krishna Das, he was lured away by the Bhattacharya women, gypsy women, and he went to their camp. And Mahaprabhu had to go and reclaim him, and he was attacked by them with weapons and disarrangements. So when he got back to Jagannath Puri, Mahaprabhu said, this fellow, he left my association. We had to drag him back, and Mahaprabhu said that he rejected him. And it was very painful, of course, Kala Krishna Das, could you imagine? Never want to see you again, take him away. So the devotees, Nityananda Prabhu, he discussed with the other devotees, Mukunda Datta and Damodar Swarup and Jagadanand, who had been there for the 2 years, because they came, those 4 devotees. They came with Mahaprabhu from Bengal, from Navadip. After Mahaprabhu took sannyas, they accompanied him. After Navadip, they accompanied him to Kata, and then they accompanied him to Jagannath Puri. And then he'd been there the whole time. It's 4 special devotees. And, Mukunda Dada, we just heard, the devotee rang me from Bangladesh just a couple of days ago at the birthplace of Mukunda Dada, which we have acquired in not far from Chittagong. And there's like a beautiful place, and they're having class there. And it's like a forest and such a beautiful place that I'd love to go and visit and hear about Mukunda Dada. So he accompanied Mahaprabhu after taking sannyas. And I was still in Jagannath Puri. And then this happens, that this Kala Krishna Das comes, and Mahaprabhu says, I don't want to, I'm not responsible for him anymore. And then they say what to do, and they say, well, we need somebody to go to Bengal to tell Mother Shachi that Navadip Chanda has returned to Jagannath Puri. And the Bengali devotees certainly they will, upon hearing this, certainly they will make a plan to come to see Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in Jagannath Puri. And of course that they did, and we heard that. And then last week we were hearing a little bit about the specifically the arrival of Haridas Thakur, the arrival of him. And that all these devotees arrived, which we're going to describe in detail now. But Haridas Thakur was lying on the road. Lying on the road, and we discussed that last week, so we won't go into that in detail again this week. But you can see the slides, yes?
Yes, Prabhuji.
So now they're on the roof, and then the Gopinath Acharya, he begins to describe who is there, and who are the devotees, because Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, the king, he had requested that Mahaprabhu Joto Ailo Gauda Hoite Acharya Eka Deka Amate. All of the devotees who have come from Gauda, you kindly, one after another, you kindly show them to me. So now they're up on the roof, and they were going to hear. And when just by hearing the names of all of these associates of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, we are purified. And the way that they're described and the significance of the circumstances is very poetic, and at the same time very prophetic in the mission of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and we'll discuss that when we come to it. So he's asking, first of all, the king. He's describing, Krishna Das Kaviraj is describing that Damodar Sarup Govinda Dui John Mal Prasad Laya Jai Jahan Vaishnav Don. Where the Vaishnavas, Jahan Vaishnav Don, where those Gauda Hoite Vaishnava Shindui Shakta Mahaprabhu Bhakti Shab Mahabhagavata, those highly advanced devotees of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, 200 of them were assembled on Narendra Sharuba. So Jahan Vaishnavgan, where they all were, Damodar and Swarup. And Damodar Pandit, he's Mahaprabhu's secretary. He was a sannyasi also. He's the secretary. No poetry will go to Mahaprabhu. No discussions will come. He's with him the whole time. He's like, no, yes, no, yes. He's just completely coordinating Mahaprabhu's madness when he's in Jagannath Puri. That's his seva. And he comes from the very beginning. This is chapter 10 of Madhulila. Before even the Bengali devotees have arrived, these devotees are already there in Jagannath Puri. Damodar and Swarup. Damodar Swarup, that's it. Damodar Swarup. It's Damodar Swarup. Swarup Damodar. And Govinda, Dui John. So specifically, these are Mahaprabhu's very dear servants. His secretary, I mean, who else does he have? Mahaprabhu is alone there now. And but he sent everybody with the prasadam. He sent everybody. Hamaikam class what change? So he's gone. He's been. Mahaprabhu has sent his two. Yes. Mahaprabhu has sent his two most intimate associates to receive with the most mal prasad laya, with the most valuable items, with just like we heard when last week we heard when Kala Krishna Das, when he went to Navadip and to inform first of all Mother Sachi and then Advaita Acharya that Mahaprabhu had returned from the South Indian tour. Then the first thing he did was he offered his obeisances to Sachimata. The first person he went and saw was Sachimata. He offered his obeisances to her, and then he stood up and gave her Mahaprasad on the Lord Jagannath, and then gave the news, and Nimai's returned from South India. And then to Advaita Acharya, same, he offered obeisances, he stood up, he gave Mahaprasad from the Jagannath. So this prasad, actually we can do that in the way we interact with devotees. Just such a, usually we arrive, we're like, okay, where am I bag? Well, I throw my bags down, where's my room? I'm going to rest and see people. He was, first thing, Mahaprasad was just ready there in his hands, just Mahaprasad, because so respectfully kept. He carried like that the whole way from Bengal, or at least for the whole way from Puri. He's gone, and he's given them, and the garlands. Raj Kohe. Raj Kohe. The king speaks and says, Jar Maladilo, Duijon, those two people who, Maladilo, who gave the garlands, Ashchajateja. That person to whom those two gave the garland, he's Ashchajateja. He's so brilliant. He's Ashchaja. His effulgence, Ashchajateja, and power. Boro, Mohan. He's a great, extraordinary person. Kaha Konjon, who is he? Who is he? To whom did Saurabh Damodar and Govinda offer the two garlands? His bodily effulgence is so great that he must be a very great devotee. Please let me know who he is. Kaha Konjon, who is that person? So now we're on the roof, and Srivash Gopinath Acharya, he's going to narrate the names of the devotees who are there, and in this way we hear the poetry and we hear the very beautiful way that Krishna's Kaviraj Goswami he glorifies and he shows the beauty and the attraction of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's intimate associates by describing their arrival and their names and the way they're performing kirtan. This is the ornament that currently Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami is allowing us to drink through our ears. His beautiful description of Charit Amrit, his nectarian descriptions of the character and pastimes of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So here he's going to describe the how important is the Sankirtan movement. We'll hear how important it is. We'll hear it coming from the lips of the king of all of Orissa and more at that time. So isn't that poetic? Isn't that, it's not just any person on the street, but the king of Orissa, the way he responds to this when he first sees the Mahaprabhu Dr. Gone, the Gauda Hoite who have come from Bengal. It's the first time he's seen them, understanding who they are at this time. So now we're going to, he's first of all mentioned Advaita Acharya. Who is that person? He asked, Kaha Konjan, who is that person? So that was Advaita Acharya. So you can just imagine that Sankirtan party of the Vaishnavas from Bengal. They're being led by Advaita Acharya. So they're on foot and they're doing Sankirtan. Not like us, we're probably arriving in our taxis and where's the prashadam box and where's the luggage and you make sure you, and no, they're coming in doing Sankirtan. That's it, because they travel like that every day. Because they're already intoxicated in love with that. He's Mahavishnu. Shadashi incarnated. He's not their Sankirtan buddy is with God and so many of his eternal associates. They're doing Sankirtan all day. And now they're arriving in Puri and they stop and Damodar Pandit and Govinda, they come and they pay obeisances, they fall down and they offer the garlands to Advaita Acharya and the Mahaprasad of Lord Jagannath and stand there. And actually that's how they honor. They didn't actually mention they ran around and garland everybody, but you can do that. But they just honored Advaita Acharya, and he's the leader of the Vaishnavas anyway. So isn't that culture? And they're standing there, two sadhus, Mahaprabhu's servants, and they're just showing Mahaprabhu, showing his affection, and he's welcoming them in this way by sending Govinda. So Gopinath Acharya, he answers the king. He says, Acharya kohe, ihanam Advaita Acharya. Ihanam Advaita Acharya. Mahaprabhu Mandapatro. He's Mahaprabhu Mandapatro. He gets Mahaprabhu, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu shows respect to him. He's the recipient of the respect of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So that's who he is. Mahaprabhu respects him. Sarva Shiro Darja. He's the topmost devotee, honored by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and is therefore the topmost devotee. And now the names of the devotees that we're familiar with, we won't discuss so much while we're going through, because you're all very familiar with who these persons are, and it's nice to appreciate the flow of poetry in which Srila Krishna, that's Kaviraj Goswami, he describes them, and this is being heard by the king as he's seeing them all standing there, and Advaita Acharya has been honored. And they're carrying on with the kirtan here. And he's mentioning who are the other devotees. Srivash Pandit Iha Pandit Bakreshar, Vidyanidhi Acharya Iha Pandit Godadhar Acharya Iha Pandit Purandor, Gangadash Pandit Iha Pandit Shankar, A. Murari Gupta Iha Pandit Narayan Haridas Thakur Iha Bhuvan Pabon. We were reflecting last week. I had a realization when we were actually the second time we were speaking last weekend, and this time last week, about that. Why Mahaprabhu says Shunu Shunu Nityananda Shunu Haridas? Was it just because Haridas happened to be standing there at that time and Haridas, you'll do? No. He was specifically selected by the Lord to become the first preacher. And he was already, people would crowds would gather around him to see the tears of love of God that drenched his cloth. So it's not that stopped happening after he stopped wandering around and came to Navadip and was associating with Mahaprabhu. No, this is the condition of Haridas Thakur. Now he's going out preaching in this way. So he's attracting people by his demonstration of love of Godhead. So it's mentioned, how extraordinary is Haridas Thakur that up to this point, so many of Mahaprabhu's intimate and dear associates' names are mentioned, but no one is given a description of their glories. The way Haridas Thakur has one line that is fully Haridas Thakur and his glories. Iha Bhuvan Pabon, he's the purifier of the universe. A Haribhakta, a Nrsinganand, a Vasudev, Dhakta, a Shivanand, Govinda Madhav, a Vasu Ghosh, Tin Bhair, Kirtan Prabhu, Bayan Santosh. Tin Bhair, these three brothers, Kirtan, of Govinda Madhav and Vasu Ghosh, there's actually Govinda Ghosh. I think Govinda Ghosh, Bhakti Charusha used to sing that, Jadi Gouda na hoite, Tobe ki hoite, Sri Radhika Mohima. It's quoted by Bhakti Krishna Swami Raj in his class on Sri Radha Tattva. Sung by it's Govinda Ghosh, and then Vasu Ghosh, he wrote songs. Madhav Ghosh, so they were the way they sang and performed kirtan. Tin by Kirtan Prabhu Bayan Shantosh. Prabhu Bayan Shantosh. The Lord was satisfied. The Lord enjoyed their kirtan of these three brothers. So isn't that significant? That first of all, it mentions that their kirtan is so enjoyable to the Lord. In other words, they're saying that Bhaktivinoda Thakur says, Gauda Bihito Kirtana Shuni, Hridoy Anando Nache, Gauda Bihita Kirtana Shuni. When I hear the authorized kirtans of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Hridoy Ananda Hridoy Nache, I dance in the heart. So this is, the Lord is pleased with the nice kirtan, and that'll make him dance because he received the order from his guru. Nache gao bhakti shange koroksham kirtan. Nache, dance, gao, sing. Nache gao bhakti shange, in the association of devotees, koroksham kirtan. Krishna nama upadeshi tara sharvajon. And then by teaching people about the glories of Krishna Nam, you can deliver all the people. So he received that order from Ishwar Prabhu. But Nache gao bhakti shange, you dance and sing. So Mahaprabhu likes kirtan, and that's very interesting. Particularly the type of these three brothers kirtan Mahaprabhu especially likes. So that means that Mahaprabhu likes some kirtans more than others. So we should try to do a kirtan that is in the category Mahaprabhu likes. And just by doing that, you can serve that's mentioned. The kirtan is Payan Santosh. I mean, if you can just somehow or other, Prabhu Payan Santosh, if you can somehow or other satisfy the Lord, then you're perfect. Your life is perfect. The Lord will never forget that. His capacity to reciprocate with us is so a little saver like that, he becomes so indebted to us, he appreciates so much. So if we're able to do something, that gives him satisfaction. And there's many things we can do to give him satisfaction. Many things, even when you're at home. So the Lord was particularly satisfied by their sankirtan. Raghav Pandit Iha Acharya Nandan, Shriman Pandit A Shrikanta Narayan, Shukrambar A Shridhabi Joy, Balab Shain A Purushatam Shanjay, Kulinagram Bashi A Shatraj Khan, mentioning that Shatraj Khan is from Kulinagram. They've come from Kulinagram. So the other devotees, it wasn't particularly mentioned where they're from, but here, Satyaraj Khan, Kulinagram Bashi. He's a resident of Kulinagram. Ramananda Adi. A Deki Biddaman, headed by Ramananda, Satyaraj Khan and Ramananda, headed by them, A Deko Biddaman, they're all present here. Mukunda Dash, Narahari Sri Raghunandan, Kandabashi, Chiranjiva, Shulochan. So the king, he's hearing all this description, and now he begins to respond. And what he says is of great significance. On the rooftop, and Krishna's Kaviraj Goswami is helping us see this. Rajkahi deki moi hoilo chamatkar, Vaishnave rache dejo deki nahi ar. Hoilo chamatkar, I'm astonished to see this. The king says, seeing this, I've become astonished. Yeah. Upon seeing these devotees, I'm very much astonished. I've never seen such an effulgence. Vaishnava Ache Tejo Deki Nahi. Vaishnava Ache Tejo. Their effulgence, the effulgence of these Vaishnavas, Vaishnava Ache Tejo Deki. Seeing their effulgence, I've never seen like that before. And therefore, I'm astonished. Now, Prabhupada comments about this, and that's why Prabhupada said, he said, I'll just read to you a little bit from the report because he says, the many professionals who can chant and perform congregational chanting with various instruments. But they cannot be as attractive as the congregational chanting of pure devotees. If a devotee strictly follows the principles governing Vaishnava behavior, his bodily luster will naturally be attractive. Singing and chanting in the holy names of the Lord will be effective, and people will appreciate such kirtan without hesitation. So there's an encouraging statement here. When I was there in Hyderabad, and we were staying next to the devotees, and I got an opportunity. I was staying in the temple, and they said, Prabhu, you can come and stay with the Sankirtan devotees. And I said, yes, of course. But Tadera Charana Shebi Bhakti Shone Bash. Tadera Charana Shebi Bhakti Shone Bash. Bhakti Shone Bash. If I can stay with devotees who are Tadera Charana Shebi, absorbed in the service of the lotus feet of Tadera, of the six Goswamis, Tadera Charana Shebi Bhakta Shone Bash, to live with them. Janame Janame Hoya Abhilash. Life after life, Narottam Mahashaya, he's saying, I would take birth again and again to be able to associate and live with those who are engaged in the service of the six Goswamis. So the king's noticing the effulgence. Koti Shuja Shama Shab Ujala Baran. The effulgence is like a million suns. Babunahishuni e Modu Kirtan. Their effulgence is like the brilliance of their effulgence is like Kuti Shurya. It's like Kuti, that's a 100,000 suns. Their effulgence is like that. Babunahishuni e Modu Kirtan, but never before have I heard such dancing during Sankirtan. This is the proper translation. You have to hear this. It's so beautiful. Never heard before such ecstatic love, nor heard the vibration of the holy name of the Lord chanted in such a way, and seen such dancing during Sankirtan. Such dancing, the way that it's chanted. I've never heard this type of kirtan before. Ache Prime, Ache Nutta, Ache Haridani. Kahana Hideke Ache Kahana Shuni. Ache Prime, Prabhupada. I just read that translation. Such ecstatic love, Ache Prime, Ache Nitto. Such dancing during Sankirtan. Ache Haridoni. Such vibration of the holy name. Kahana Hideki, I've never seen it before. Ache Kahana Shuni, and I've never heard it before. Now, Srila Prabhupada, he draws a lot of significance from this comment from the king, explaining that this has come to the attention of the king, and the king would every day he would see hundreds of kirtan parties. We even see kirtan parties today from people all over India to coming towards the Grand Road down to Lord Jagannath, and then the king, he's obviously seen so many Sankirtan parties, but never have I seen like this. Such dancing, such chanting, vibration of the holy name, such chanting and dancing in Sankirtan. Right? What a description! How poetic! The king he's astonished. He's chamatkar. He's completely astonished, awestruck, awesome. He's chamatkar, astounded by seeing the dancing, by seeing the love of God, by hearing the vibration of the holy name chanted in that way in the dancing. And he's never seen anything like it before. So he's asked the question. He's asked the question. He said that Nahishuni Emodur Kirtan. I've never Emodur Kirtan. Kobu Nahishuni Emodur Kirtan. I've never before heard this Modur Kirtan, this sweet Kirtan. Sometimes here in Bengal, in Bengali devotees, they're Modur Kirtan. They're Namhatta preaching, Modur, in Bangladesh preaching Modur Kirtan. The Kirtan is Krishna Kirtan Prabhu. We hear his bhajan, it's so sweet. So this Modur Kirtan, the king's asking, and Bhattacharya replies, Bhattacharya kohe, Modur Bhachan, Chaitanya Srishti a Prem Sankirtan. Bhattacharya kohe. So now the Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, he speaks. Before it was Gopinathacharya, because he knew everybody. Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya didn't, but Gopinathacharya, he's not speaking now. Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya is describing the Prem Sankirtan, the Sankirtan movement. But this is the first time that Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya has seen these Sankirtan devotees anyway. But he's seeing it and understanding, oh, this is Mahaprabhu's mission, this love of Godhead through chanting the holy name. So it's very interesting, this description. Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, he's also hasn't seen the Lord for 2 years. So he's been meditating on the Lord's teachings before he became completely converted. I mean, a big professor and he becomes a madman. He can't say the name Mukti. I mean, this is something that was big time. And so he's remained a great leader of Vaishnavism and the Mahaprabhu's Sankirtan movement in Jagannath Puri. And now he's come back. now he's seeing for the first time. And the Gaudadesh devotees, Mahaprabhu has been where the Navadip Bashis, where Mahaprabhu began the Sankirtan movement, the Panchatattva, Advaita Acharya, Haridas Thakur, Shivash Thakur, and all that we heard, all those Acharya Ratna, all those devotees, Vasudev Ghosh, Tinbai, Govinda, all of these extraordinary devotees, they're all there. First time they're both seeing him. And now the guru of the king, and he says that first time he gives it this name. He says, E Modur Vachan Chaitanya Srishti, it's created by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. A Prem Sankirtan. This is the Prem Sankirtan. Now, of course, it goes on that now Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, he will further instruct the king on the significance of the Sankirtan movement. And it's quite an elaborate, that would itself would be a wonderful section to read. He quotes many verses from Srimad Bhagavatam and other verses describing the importance of the Kali Kale Dharma Krishnanam Sankirtan. Krishnanam Sankirtan Kali Kale Dharma. It is the Dharma for the time of Kali. And Avatavi Chaitanya Koilo, Avatari Chaitanya Koilo Dhamma Prachar. And he's appeared to preach this, and he's the Yuga Dharma. And Nam Sankirtan is the Yuga, is the Dharma. What a discussion is going on between these two important people. It's the guru of all of Orissa and his guru. It's the ruler of all of Orissa, and his guru is telling him directly that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is an incarnation of Krishna, and the Yuga and the Dharma for the age is chanting the holy names, and he has come to preach that. Yeah, it's Michael. Michael. And as I mentioned, Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya goes on, that's quite lengthy. Many more verses and points that he makes establishing. But in this way, the point of the extraordinary nature of Mahaprabhu's Sankirtan, that it attracted the attention of the king. And the king, he spoke with words which were describing its unparalleled beauty and attractiveness and purity and spiritual potency. And then Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, he went on to preach to the king in more detail, and the scientific explanation of Mahaprabhu's avatar and the importance of his incarnation is described there in a philosophical truths, a very beautiful section which you can read. So to step back a little bit, more of an objective view, that in the same way that this is described in detail, that this arrival, and every year, they came from Bengal. But this time, only once, Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami describes it in detail. But now he mentions that every year they came in the same way, but it's not that subsequently every year he'll describe it in detail again. No, he mentions it occasionally, that the devotees came from Bengal. So he's mentioning that this is the way they came this time, this is the same way they came every time. And Prabhu Shange Rohi Gori Jatra Darshan. They remain with the Lord to see Jatra Darshan, to see the Rath Yatra and dance with the Lord in Rath Yatra festival. And so many pastimes performed, and its significance. So this first time that we see Rath Yatra, Mahaprabhu, we can see that there's a lot of philosophical significance described in these chapters. Mahaprabhu doing Sankirtan. And they're given complete chapters of the Chaitanya Charitamrita, like the Lord's dancing at Rath Yatra. So they're described in great detail in this section. And we'll go to this. To show you this. So this is what we've been reading from is chapter 11 now. And now you can see that the incidents, the subsequent incidents of cleansing Gundicha temple, dancing in Rath Yatra, Vrindavan pastimes, that actually takes only 20 days. But that's given 3 chapters. The arrival that we just heard now, and then the Rath Yatra, dancing, and then the pastimes in Vrindavan. So that's given 3 chapters, and that's only a 20-day period. And previously, the tour of South India, that was a 2-year period. That was 1 chapter. So sometimes you can see Krishna's Kaviraj Goswami is giving an overview, and then sometimes some sections he's going into in detail. So this first arrival of the devotees to Gaudadesh, and the first Rath Yatra, described in great detail, and all of its philosophical significance discussed. Now, subsequently, that we mentioned Lord danced in Rath Yatra, but again, the whole description, this is the full description of the significance. So in this way, before the Lord goes to Vrindavan, which is what we'll begin discussing next week, before he actually goes to Vrindavan, he remains like this in Jagannath Puri for another 2 years. So South Indian tour was 2 years. And then again, he comes back to Puri, remains in Puri for 2 years. And then to go to Vrindavan and come back, that's another 2 years. The Lila. And so in this way, you can see the life of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Navadip Leela is half of Mahaprabhu's life. And then Madhya Leela is 6 years. That's when he's preaching Krishna consciousness. And then remaining 18 years demonstrating Anta Leela in Puri. So any questions on the topics for today? Today we were discussing the different devotees as they were arriving from Bengal in names, beginning with the Radhacharya, the garlands and the prasadam, sending the intimate assistance. Radhacharya, his significance, he's offered all the respect. All the devotees' names are mentioned. Haridas Thakur, the deliverer of the universe, and then the king's looking and explaining that I've never seen such effulgence, I've never heard such sweet kirtan. And then Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya explaining his Prem Sankirtan, and his dancing, this vibration of the holy name, the dancing and the chanting, the effulgence, these things. Ache Prem, Ache love, the love of God, Ache Prem, Ache Nitna, Ache Haridon. King, and in this way, Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, he explains the king is glorifying that extraordinary nature of Mahaprabhu Sankirtan. Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya goes on to explain to him in great detail. Later, the king will mention, because I accept you're the most learned person I know. He says that I accept that when you say Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is the Supreme Lord, I accept that. He says on occasion. And the learning of Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya is displayed in this in this section where he preaches himself to the king. And that's in this section that can be studied another time. And in this same Mahaprabhu, he remains, and the Bengalis devotees, they came like that every year. And this way Mahaprabhu remained for 2 years. And then again, he went on the, and then after that, in Antoleda, the Bengali devotees came also. In Antoleda, throughout the right end to Mahaprabhu's, every Ratha Yatra would take the Bengali devotees half of their year, 1 month to come, 4 months to remain in Puri, and 1 month to go back. And every year they would come, and all of them. And this is for this reason Mahaprabhu went to Jagannath Puri. That's why he said, I can't give up the Antaranga Bhaktagan, Navadipya. Ja Shangi Shankirtan Andolan Shtapan Kora Hoechi, those with whom he established the Sankirtan movement. Gauda Deshi Moy Dui Shamasha Janani Janabi Dui Doyamoy, the Maganga, to go and bathe in Maganga. So anyway, the Bengali devotees, they came and their association, Gauda Hoite. So the significance of that is described this afternoon. So is there any question? So we will conclude and we'll carry on same time next week. Thank you. Shri Prabhupada ki jai. Shamaveda Gaur Bhakti Ki jai.